Kenya at the Tumaini Children's Orphanage, and this is my friend, David Kariuki.
Yes.
And David, I just wanted you to see if you could tell a little bit about your story so we can tell people back in the United States what we're doing here today and why it's so important that we raise money so we can get more kids in the orphanage. So if we can start by you just introducing yourself.
Okay. My name's David Kariuki. I'm a social worker in the orphanage here. Before I joined Heart for Africa this year, I was working with Feed the Children. But before that too, I'm a reformed and transformed former street boy. I've spent 6 years in the street, taking drugs, stealing. I've been taken to juvenile delinquents institution to be transformed. We've participated in various crimes in the street. We've mugged people, we've beaten people, and I was a bad boy in the street. But because of God's grace, and God used somebody, Mr. Muli, who picked me from the street. He gave me a shelter, he provided for me education, he gave me parental love that I lacked at home, and he provided for me an environment where I could pursue my dream and go to school, because my family is 15 kids from one mother but various husbands, and I had no love at home. And at home I had never gone to school because the number of kids to take to school, they were overwhelming to my mother. So the street was an alternative for me to go and to look for solace and comfort and people to take me to school. But because of one man's action of trying to reach for the neglected and the orphan, oppressed and orphan, he gave us hope, he gave us a shelter, he took us to school. I'm learned now, and I've decided to come and offer my services to this institution, to this Tumaini orphanage. At least these children also could have a space for them to pursue their dream and to make their future be promising and go back to the community and support their relative that they left back home.
How many children are on the streets here?
In Kenya. Kenya, we are talking about over 500,000 street children.
On the streets,
countrywide.
Yeah. Girls and boys?
Girls and boys.
And what happens to the girls?
The girls, they are the most oppressed lot in the street because they are weak, they don't have the muscles to defend themselves. Most of the time you find the girls, they are about below age 10 and they are exposed to sexual exploitation. You find a 9-year-old girl going out with about even 10 men at one night. They don't pay her for the services that she's rendered to them. So they just use her, they abuse her, and then they leave her. Many girls have been infected with HIV and other sexual transmitted diseases.
And I know that because of extreme poverty, you were forced to do things that you didn't want to do and commit crimes, and you ended up in jail. And could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
You know, for children to go out to the street, it's not out of choice. But it's because of the surrounding circumstances back at home. People are living in abject poverty. To get food is a struggle. And in our African traditional society, you find we have very big family. You may find a family of 12, 10, 9 children. And if they are orphaned, then it becomes a problem. So once we are in the street and we steal things, we are taken to juvenile remand prisons. That's a government-run institution for juvenile delinquents. The place, it's not safe or secured because there's a lot of problem there. Food is problem, there is harassment there of all sorts that you can think of, and it's very bad. Like for girls, they don't have sanitary pads to change. They just come with one pant and maybe they spend about 8 months. That's the thing that they'll use for the rest of the 8 months they'll spend in the place. They're abused. It's not a nice place to be.
And you said the other night that the wardens, rape the girls and the boys. And
yeah, sometimes girls could be called in the wardens' places and they'll have sex with them. And the girls, they don't have a voice to speak for themselves because at that time they're under the custody of the wardens and they have nobody they can report the matter to. And I hope maybe things are changing and will change for the better.
So this is why it's so important that so many wonderful and special people like Bishop David and Charles Moley are building orphanages here.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about Tumaini. And currently we have 57 orphans here.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a social worker here.
Yeah.
And they're building a home for you on property so we can fit 18 more children right over here.
Yeah.
And Jeff and I want to raise the money back in the United States to get 18 more kids off of the streets to build this side. So can you tell us a little bit about what this will be and how this will create room for 18 more kids?
By building this space here where we are standing right now, we are going to create a room for more than 18 street children who have no place to go and be assisted or get assistance. By building myself, the group has offered to build me a house behind that building there. The room that I'm living at the moment, it can be occupied by 18 street children. So by myself moving from the room and going to my room, new street children or 18 new members are going to be taken on board. And by building the upper structure here, more kids are going also to be rescued from the street. And I know the action that you've taken to solicit for funds to build this place is going to help many souls, and many children from the street are going to have a house, a shelter. It's a place where they'll sleep without fearing someone coming to kill them at night, because in the street children, they don't have a shelter, they don't have blankets, they don't have mattresses, they don't have nice bed. We just sleep in open veranda like this one. There's nothing to cover ourselves, we just curl ourselves like cabbages, and that's how we survive in the street. But by building these structures, I know these children will thank you 1,000,001 times, because you've provided them security, you provide them with parental love, and more so you've concerned about their future, them going to school and trying to improve their lot.
And one last question. The other day when we were here, we had, I don't know, 18 or 20 of the street kids.
18, 17.
Did you know a lot of those kids that were here? Had you seen them before?
When I walk around Naivasha, I meet them, but I've never been a street boy in Naivasha. I was on the other side of Edward and Nairobi. But a street kid is a street kid, because I know the language of the street. I know how to befriend them and to bond with them. So I bonded with them in the time they were here. We talk and we try to share about our background. I told them about my past, and they were excited, and they were just praying that someone could build a house. They were more than willing to leave the street if only they could be given a chance in such an orphanage like this one or any other in the country.
It was so hard to take them in the other day and give them clothing and feed them for the day, but then know that at the end of the day we were putting them back on the street when we were done, because we couldn't take them in.
It's true.
Because we don't have this built yet.
Yeah, it was a challenge. Yes, you could give them nice shoes, you could give them good clothing, nice food, but at the end of the day, they're just going back to the same condition that they are used to, that is the street. And some, I believe, they'll sell even that clothes to get money to buy drugs. I'm 100% sure of that.
And that also, what happens when a child does get, you mentioned the other day that if you give a child, you know, you've said on this trip, don't give a child money or food or anything like that, because they'll get beat up. I mean, if you give them a pair of tennis shoes, they'll get beat up. Or, you know, they'll get their clothes torn off their back, they'll get, you know, whatever happens. So what happens to them?
Excuse me. Sometimes, you know, you may find you are moved by the compassion for the young one, and you want to do something out of a humanitarian ground or philanthropic feeling. You want to support that child. And you know that child, even if you give him clothes or something valuable, he's still in the street. And there are those grown-up street kids, there are those over 20, over 30. They have strong and they have the muscles. What you'll be doing, you'll be endangering the life of this young one. The only thing I support and I believe can work is building a structure like this and going to the street to get that child, get guys who can sponsor him or her, and in this place it could be okay with him here, other than giving him money in the street or such stuff.
Okay.
It's good.